Now it's time for Culture Talk, where we talk about culturally relevant topics that you can use to start conversations about your faith. I'm joined today with astronomer Hugh Ross. Thank you for joining us, Hugh.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Sandra.
I read your article recently and you're talking about animal empathy. And I know you're a huge lover of animals. You've got one cat and you've had over the years some cats and some dogs, right?
And a lot of other pets too. When you got two boys, you're going to have almost a dozen different species.
Oh, yes. And you're like the Pied Piper of animals because you've talked about how when you go on hikes, animals just kind of will come to you, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, even bears. Kind of fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little jealous. I love bears. Well, you're talking about in your article animal empathy and a recent experiment that shows animals' social transfers of emotions and feelings. That sounds pretty amazing. Can you explain this experiment?
Well, they did a set of experiments. In one case, they took two mice that were cage mates. And in one case, the mouse was injected with a pain inducing drug. And so here was this mouse that was experiencing pain. And then they allowed the cage mate to socially engage the mouse that was hurting for about an hour. And what they discovered is both mice felt the same pain. They actually did experiments with the brain to show that they were experiencing the same level of pain. And then they did the reverse, where you got two mice in pain. And when one mouse, they inject with a pain relieving drug. So the mouse is no longer feeling pain, and they allow that mouse to socially engage with the one that is feeling pain, and suddenly neither of the two mice are feeling pain. And so they said, this could be a huge breakthrough for pain relief for humans, because it's well known that mice and rats are good lab proxies for humans.
Mhm.
Their digestive tracts is similar to ours, their nervous system. And so what they're talking about is actually using this on humans. So for example, if you've got a dozen people in a ward that are suffering from severe pain, you don't have to treat all 12. You treat one, let that one socially engage with the others, and the others will be all relieved of pain. At least that's the hope. But given that we have common design features with these mice, there's really good promise that could work. And
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
that is a lot of detail to unpack. And you mentioned about common design. So an experiment like this would lead me to think that this actually shows evidence for human evolution because then we have like these common designs, as you mentioned, showing the similarities between humans and animals. So from a Christian perspective, like how would you understand that this experiment and that common design?
Well, from a biblical perspective, we're taught that there's a class of animals, the nephesh animals or the soulish animals, which includes all bird and mammal species, and how God designed them to relate to us human beings and to serve and please us human beings. So from that perspective alone, they would have to share these features. I'm not sure I put this in the article I wrote, but I've been in situations where people have been on their deathbed, lucid at the time of the death, and they got their pet dog with them, for example, and the dog winds up feeling the same pain that their human owner is experiencing. So it just shows you what that strong emotional bond will do between two soulish animals, if they're the same species, and that one is a soulish animal and the other is a human being. And so there's actually the possibility that we may be able to use these new discoveries where we actually do something with the pet of the owner and it has an efficacious effect for the human owner. And I would suspect that the stronger the emotional bond between the human and the animal, the better the effect you're going to get from this kind of therapy.
Yeah, wow. So that's really fascinating. So then you're saying that you can explain this from a Christian perspective or a biblical perspective by looking at the types of creatures that God made for human interaction. Is that right?
Well, given that these creatures are designed to form relationships with us, to bond with us and serve and please us, they would have to have these features in common. But I think the important thing with respect to whether it's naturalism or theism, these creatures are designed to relate and serve and please a higher species. We humans are designed to form a similar relationship with a higher being and to serve and please that higher being. And we're the only species on planet Earth that has that capability. And so the birds and mammals do not share that characteristic with us. That's unique to us. But what you see in the book of Job, look to these birds, look to these animals, mammals, they will teach you important lessons. As they were designed to serve a higher species, we were designed to serve a higher being. As their sin can damage the potential of these creatures to serve and please us, our sin can damage our potential to serve and please our Creator. That's just two of several lessons we can gain. And I think God purposely gave these animals not only to serve and please us, but to teach us things about how we can better relate to Him.
Well, thank you for that, Hugh. So if our viewers or listeners want to find out more about this topic, where would you direct them to?
Well, they can go to my article at reasons.org. I think if all they do is put in the search engine animal empathy, it'll pop right up. It's part of my Today's New Reason to Believe series.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Hugh, for that. So again, if you want to find out more about this topic, go to reasons.org and search animal empathy.